Welcome to Wellywood Wargaming, where the grim dark never sleeps. Crack open a bottle of wild snake and spark up a low stick as we take a journey down Underhive.
Hello boys and girls, I thought it was probably about time that we discussed Mordheim. Released in 1999, Mordheim was a skirmish-based wargame set in the Warhammer Fantasy universe, or what you younglings might call the Old World. Developed by Tuomas Pirinen, the game took a bold departure from the large battles of Warhammer Fantasy Battle and introduced players to a more personal, gritty and narrative-driven experience. Set in the ruined city of Mordheim, the game focused on small warbands battling for control of Weirdstone, a mysterious and dangerous substance. From the outset, Mordheim was a hit, offering tight skirmish rules, immersive campaigns and a level of customization that was unprecedented for its time. Players didn't just control units, they nurtured characters, forged stories and invested in their warbands over multiple games. Let's uncover what made Mordheim one of the most influential tabletop games ever created. Mordheim's dark atmospheric setting is one of its greatest strengths. The game takes place in the Empire's capital of sin and corruption, a city devastated by the impact of the twin-tailed comet. The once grand city is now a dangerous wasteland of crumbling buildings, blood-soaked streets and Weirdstone shards that glow with an eerie green light. These shards attract fortune seekers, criminals and horrors alike, all willing to risk everything for the promise of power and riches. The twin-tailed comet, a harbinger of doom, the comet's arrival destroyed Mordheim and unleashed chaos and corruption, drawing the attention of all manner of factions. Warpstone, glowing green shards of meteorite that became the lifeblood of the city, promising wealth and power to those brave or foolish enough to seek them. Various groups fight to control the city and claim its treasures, including mercenaries, the undead, mutants and the insidious Skaven. Each faction has its own motives, whether it's greed, faith or survival. The ruined, dangerous streets of Mordheim provide endless narrative possibilities, allowing players to create their own stories amidst the chaos and corruption. One of Mordheim's standout features was its wide range of warbands. Each faction brought its own flavour and style to the game, whether through unique abilities, tactics or personalities. These diverse warbands were more than just armies. They were living, breathing entities that evolved over time, creating a deep bond between players and their forces. We had human mercenaries. These versatile warriors could be customised to fill a variety of roles, from archers to warriors with heavy armour. They were a solid and flexible starting point for players. We then had Skaven, the rat men from beneath the city, fast and deadly, capable of swarming enemies in overwhelming numbers. We then had Marienburgers and different factions of the Empire. The Marienburgers in particular were wealthy traders who could afford superior equipment, making them excellent in a war of attrition. We have the Sisters of Sigmar, devout warriors wielding hammers and blessed by their gods. These fanatical zealots were capable of performing mighty feats of strength. We then have the Cult of the Possessed, a chaotic and twisted warband of mutants and horrors. This faction thrived on raw power and unpredictable mutations. And then lastly, the Undead, vampires, ghouls, direwolves and zombies led by necromancers driven by eternal thirst for power and domination. To this day, Mordheim has been kept alive by a very, very, very passionate and thriving community, and I think there's probably about 50 or 60 warbands now. Any faction in Warhammer Fantasy you can pretty much play in Mordheim, or find a warband that resembles something that you like and want to take into the darkness of those streets. The variety in these warbands makes every game of Mordheim feel fresh and unique, as each faction requires different tactics and strategies to succeed. The warbands were also deeply tied to the game's lore, with their motivations and backgrounds adding to the rich tapestry of the Mordheim world. Another thing that set Mordheim apart from other tabletop games was its innovative campaign system. Much like Necromunda, players could develop their warbands over multiple battles, improving their warriors, gaining new skills, acquiring treasure, and suffering the consequences of their losses. This persistent progression made each campaign feel like a journey, where every victory and defeat had real consequences. Heroes and henchmen gained experience after each battle, which they could use to learn new skills, become more powerful, and take on special roles within the warband. Characters could suffer permanent injuries, be crippled, or even die, giving players a real emotional investment in their warband. The fear of losing a favourite hero added drama to every game. Players could use their gold crowns to buy weapons, armour, and even hire additional mercenaries, creating a warband that reflected their personal playstyle and strategy. A wide variety of scenarios kept the gameplay exciting and unpredictable, whether you were battling for control of a Weirdstone cache or engaging in a desperate last stand. The outcomes of each mission felt meaningful. This campaign system, where every battle built upon the last, allowed Mordheim to offer a deeply engaging experience that was unlike anything seen before in a tabletop game. Mordheim featured fast, tactical skirmishes that allowed for both strategic depth and quick decision-making. Each player controlled a warband of around 8 to 15 models, manoeuvring them through the ruins of the city. Every model felt important, and every action could change the course of the battle. Each turn consisted of distinct phases such as movement, shooting and combat, creating a structured but flexible flow to the game. Verticality played a huge role, with warriors climbing crumbling buildings, leaping from rooftops and utilising the environment to gain an advantage. The combat system was simple but tactical, with modifiers for range, cover and skills. Proper positioning could be the difference between victory and defeat. The game's leadership mechanic added realism and unpredictability. Warriors could just break and flee if their morale faltered, reflecting the chaos and danger of the ruined city. The gameplay was easy to pick up, but with plenty of room for skillful maneuvering and tactical decisions, making each game feel fresh and exciting. Although Mordheim was discontinued in the early 2000s, it has remained beloved by a very, very passionate community. The game's open-ended design and emphasis on storytelling have kept players engaged, with many continuing to play and expand the game with new factions, scenarios and homebrew rules. The Mordheim community has been instrumental in keeping the game alive, with fan-made content circulating on forums and websites, as well as organised campaigns and events. The community also embraced the hobby aspect, with players crafting intricate terrain and converting unique miniatures to bring their warbands to life. Even digital platforms have kept the flame alive, with the Mordheim City of the Down video game introducing the title to a new generation of players while capturing the tactical combat and campaign elements of the tabletop version. The core box of Mordheim provided everything players needed to begin their journey into the ruined streets of the city. The box set included the rulebook. The comprehensive guide contained the core rules of the game, campaign system, and background information on the city of Mordheim and its factions. The box came with a set of plastic miniatures for two starter warbands, the Skaven and the Human Mercenaries. The Skaven were fast, deadly rat men capable of overwhelming enemies with their numbers, while the Human Mercenaries were versatile and customizable, perfect for a wide range of tactics. These models were highly detailed and posed uniquely, giving players a chance to immerse themselves in the world right from the start. The box also featured basic modular terrain, including crumbling buildings and walls, which could be arranged in a variety of configurations to create a chaotic battlefield. Essential for gameplay, the box contains special dice and markers for tracking health, conditions, and objectives throughout the game as well. The later miniatures released for Mordheim continued to impress, with detailed sculpts that would go on to inspire future Games Workshop releases. Some of the most notable miniatures included special character miniatures that players could hire to strengthen their warbands. These were often unique models with special rules and abilities, representing legendary mercenaries and renowned warriors. The core set's warbands of Skaven and Human Mercenaries were later followed by numerous metal expansions and releases, each adding new warbands like the Sisters of Sigmar or the Cult of the Possessed. These releases kept the game exciting, with each new warband bringing its own unique playstyle and story. These miniatures have become a beloved part of Mordheim's legacy, and many remain popular among hobbyists and collectors to this day, and they fetch a pretty penny on eBay too. Mordheim's influence is still felt in many modern skirmish games such as Warhammer Underworlds and Warcry. Its mix of tactical gameplay, persistent campaigns and narrative-driven experiences paved the way for the resurgence of skirmish-level games in the Warhammer Fantasy universe. The game's design philosophy, emphasising storytelling and character progression over pure competition, resonated with players and continues to shape the direction of modern games. Even today, Mordheim serves as a shining example of how a well-designed skirmish game can capture the imagination of players and keep them coming back for more.